Follow me to my favorite tree. Well, I'm offering a steady hand. I could be your security. There's no guarantee on anything. And I'll take care of you along the way. My love, one day at a time, will leave our troubles behind.
Hello, thanks for tuning in to Sauna Talks. I'm your host, Storm Carroll, and we are currently in Terrace, British Columbia, on the banks of the mighty Skeena River, the River of Mist. The reason I started this podcast is because I'm 36 years old, and I'm feeling like, for the most part, I haven't really treated my body like a temple. And so, yeah, I'm excited about getting advice from awesome, deadly people. I've reached out to 8 inspirational, healthy individuals in order to try and find out what the secret sauce is to living a healthy lifestyle. So stay tuned. I hope you like what you see, and I'm really excited to have fun with this. Thanks for tuning in. You're watching Sauna Talks with Storm Carroll.
Along the way, my love, one day at a time, will leave our troubles behind. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Action. I'll let you sit on that side over there. Sure. Right. This is the sign that the podcast has started, because it's a very peaceful. Oh, I screwed it up. That's okay. Very peaceful noise. Yeah. Welcome to the first episode of Sauna Talks with Storm Carroll. I'm your host, Storm Carroll, and today on the show we have Dr. Greg Linton, a musician, doctor, master kombucha brewer, and cider brewer. And what else should we know about you, Greg?
Family man.
Family man. Right.
Yeah. Got 2 kids.
Right.
And my wife and I have been married for 33 years. Had to think about that for just a second.
We can edit it if you're wrong. We can edit that out. How long have you been in Terrace for?
30 years.
Wow. You've
Yep.
been doctoring in Terrace for 30 years?
I have.
That's awesome. What brought you here?
I think family, actually, to be honest.
Okay.
And the work. So
Right.
rural medicine is a different kind of medicine.
Right. Some people prefer that rural medicine.
Yeah.
Cool. And what are your favorite things to do out in the mountains here?
Oh, mountain biking probably is top at this kind of time of year.
Right.
And when the snow starts to fly, cross-country skiing, downhill skiing,
All right.
snowshoeing,
Okay.
winter sports.
Winter sports. Also road biking?
Have been road biking in the past a significant amount of time, but I traded that in for mountain biking
Cool.
in the last couple of years because I think it's a little bit safer.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense. That does make sense. And then maybe a little bit of fishing trickled in there?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was sort of a given.
Yeah. That's why I moved here.
Yeah.
The fish. So I want this podcast to kind of just give people advice on healthy lifestyles, and you're a prime example. Pretty fit, doing all the sports, doing all the things, and you're involved in a program called Change BC.
Yep.
You wanna? How did that come about, or do you want to? Or how do you want to?
I can chat with you about change.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
So It's a lifestyle medicine, basically, and change refers to Canadian health advancement through nutrition and graded exercise.
Oh,
That's what changed.
okay.
And that's way too big a mouthful, so we just say change.
Yeah, yeah.
Or, if that's a hard one to remember, then it's just lifestyle medicine.
Very cool.
And it's been going in the Pacific Northwest now since our pilot program in 2018, but it's been offered across Canada, and in particularly originating in Ontario in the mid-teens 2000s.
Cool.
So it's across Canada, but in BC, we were the first in the Pacific Northwest to adopt this lifestyle medicine program.
Very cool.
So basically, what we're trying to do with this program is decrease the incidence of the pre-diabetic state called metabolic syndrome,
Okay.
as well as treat people with diabetes in an effort to reverse the risk factors that are associated with all the nasty things that come along with those diagnoses.
Right.
So like things like heart attacks, stroke, eye disease, kidney disease, peripheral vascular disease, all of those things associated with metabolic syndrome and diabetes
Okay.
can be avoided.
Right.
And the idea with lifestyle medicine is it doesn't have to be all about medication. You can work on the side of non-pharmaceuticals to make a big impact.
Okay.
And so we've shown in our pilot program, which was the first to run in rural Canada in 2018 to 2019, we showed a reversal rate of over 32% for metabolic syndrome. So people no longer had that diagnosis by the time the year-long program was done.
Very cool.
So the program itself is 1 year, and we've got a rolling start. It doesn't just start at one time a year for everybody. And it involves a healthcare team with the family physician or nurse practitioner as the central health professional, along with the allied health professionals, which includes kinesiology.
Very cool.
And dietitian. And we've also added in there oral health.
Cool.
And you might not think oral health on the face of it is a big deal, but it is.
Right.
Because, it's the one thing in the Canadian healthcare system that isn't accounted for. Yeah. Somehow the mouth is a separate part from the rest of the body.
Yeah.
And obviously it's not. And so the inflammation associated with gum disease, for example, can have a huge impact on the risk of cardiovascular disease and having a heart attack.
Wow.
Which you might not think about. Or if you see somebody, for example, and it's okay to talk about, some of that kind of really gross stuff of medicine.
Yeah.
Here. Okay.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
So
We encourage it.
all right. So when you have people with leg ulcers, for example, because of their arterial or peripheral vascular disease, those leg ulcers can get quite big,
Right.
and very deep.
Okay.
If you imagine the surface area in the mouth, if it's all inflamed because of gum disease, then that could be akin to a leg ulcer the size of like 7 to 9 centimeters on someone's leg. Whoa. And so someone's walking around with that on their leg, everybody's looking at it and thinking, whoa, you got to do something about that.
Yeah.
Whereas when it's in your mouth, it's kind of hidden. People
Yeah.
can't see it.
Yeah.
And it's a deal. So that's why we've included it in with the change program, because it was kind of a gap in primary care. And it's an important part. So
Yeah, for sure.
and the federal government has just started funding dental care for lower income people across Canada. So that was timely
Yeah.
with the inclusion of that in our program.
That's wonderful.
So this year-long program is also what kind of makes it special in the Pacific Northwest anyway, is that we're trying to observe a culturally sensitive manner of delivering the program.
Okay.
So we don't have a prescriptive thing that we do with people. We meet people where they are, where they start. And then, as the name implies, there's graded small step changes that you make.
Right.
And by making smaller changes rather than wholesale lifestyle changes, the idea is that that's something that people are going to be able to internalize and make a part of their lifestyle from now on.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I think that's a little bit different about this program as compared to what happens often, let's say, with New Year's resolutions. People say, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to change my diet wholesale.
Yeah.
And so how long does that last? How effective is it?
Yeah.
Usually people are off that kind of a routine within a few weeks. And that's what we're trying to avoid. So by having this graded change approach with the allied health professionals, stick handling most of that with the patients, we've been able to have some significant changes.
Very cool.
Which people are able to maintain. And the reason we do it for a year, when you think about it, with whatever exercise routine you might have, and I'll use myself as an example, like we were just saying, at this time of year, I'm mountain biking.
Yeah.
But when the snow flies, I can't do that.
Right.
I've tried.
Yeah.
And I biked through the winter with studded tires one year, but it's a little dangerous.
Yeah.
However, your sports, your activities will change. And so if you can incorporate that seasonal cycle of 1 year with people and their allied health professional helping master and muster those changes, people are going to have more success with maintaining it. As well, when you think about it, your foodstuffs change throughout the year too for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And when you're living in the Pacific Northwest and you're blessed with this environment, there's a lot of foraging that can happen.
Yeah.
And so in the autumn, for example, you might be eating a lot of fish and mushrooms. And that might change with your gardens that you're growing throughout your growing season here, with the different foods that are available early in the season compared to later on.
Yeah.
So taking someone through a year's worth of dietary changes is also important.
That's really smart.
And we don't actually refer it so much as a diet. We talk about it in more terms of food literacy.
Okay.
Which is a kind of an interesting term, because with exercise as well, we try and speak more of physical literacy.
Right.
So trying to improve people's physical and food literacy is what this lifestyle medicine program is all about.
I like it.
And the thing that's, for me, that's so different in my 30 years of doing primary care is that typically, what kind of time do I have to spend with a patient in the office? I'm looking at 10, 15, 20 minutes max.
Right.
Whereas with the allied health professionals who have a way better understanding of exercise and motion if you're a kinesiologist, or the dietary side of things if you're a dietitian, those people can spend an hour per session.
Yeah.
And there's many sessions that they'll have with the patients. So they get way more in depth with them. And I think that's why you see such benefit to this program compared to everything else I've done in primary care, trying to help people through some lifestyle modification in my time in medicine.
Yeah. In our personal health journey, I'll call it, it's a lot of baby steps. Yeah. You know, like there's all these health things for sale, and people think they're going to change their life like that. But the reality is this is not going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
And it takes a lot of time, even to where we are now with just eating a lot healthier. That like took us a couple of years to get managed. And then the literacy part, like when you start reading ingredients in grocery stores, holy moly.
Yeah, food labels. I mean, that's crazy.
I didn't read those my whole life until more recently. And I'm just like, whoa, it's pretty wild what's going on in grocery stores these days.
And the language that's used on food labels is pretty interesting. Like 100% natural does not mean that it's all natural ingredients.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful with
Or
that.
20% protein in this cereal. It's like, that doesn't really make it any better than the other cereals.
Yeah. So I guess with the change program as well, I think an important thing to talk about is what it's not.
Okay.
And it's not a weight loss program,
Right.
because this is not about weight loss.
Yeah.
Weight loss is such an arbitrary thing. And it's what drives the diet industry and all of those glossy magazines that you see in the food checkout, and all of the infomercials that are on TV and on the internet. It's crazy what's out there and how much stuff is out there.
It's
and how people key on what they feel is the importance of weight loss.
Right.
And it's not about that.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of times when people come in and I'm talking to them about the change program, they automatically assume it's about weight loss. And I say, actually, I don't care what you weigh.
Yeah.
This is not about that. This is about you being comfortable in your skin, being food literate, and physically literate.
Yeah.
And whatever you weigh, that's what you're going to weigh.
Right.
You might exercise for a year and be in the greatest shape of your life that you've ever been, and your weight might not change at all, but you've redistributed your weight. So, I hope you haven't got a bear out there. Right?
There could be a bear out there. Sorry about that.
We'll see how fast we can run. Yeah, so weight loss is not what this is about.
Okay.
And so we have to educate not only patients, but also the public in general, and even healthcare providers.
Cool. Well, I think it's about time for another sauna. And when we come out, maybe we'll break down some more parts of the change program.
Okay.
For just the general public, because I think it's a lot of stuff that we could all learn from.
Absolutely.
And, base our kind of life around.
Yep.
We should be. And then we won't see the doctor as much, right? Is that
Absolutely.
kind of
That's the idea.
That's the idea.
Yep.
Cool. All right. One of these here. All right. No bears. There might be a bear, though. There's a good...
That is such a beautiful
Isn't it?
ring.
Yeah. I might upgrade if I do a season 2. I don't know. We'll see.
I don't think you have to upgrade that.
Yeah, it's a nice one. All right, round 2. I think I wouldn't mind talking about like the framework. Like there's a framework to a healthy lifestyle. And it sounds like they've implemented it in this program. And so maybe if we could kind of break it down a bit, what are some big takeaways?
Sure. I think with the idea that graded change is a whole lot easier to implement into someone's life if they're engaged with the idea, first off, is a whole lot easier than making wholesale changes, because these are patterns of behavior that we've ingrained for years of our lives, and then all of a sudden to expect to alter that in some great way and maintain it, it's pretty hard for people to do that.
For sure.
So being able to motivate yourself to implement some of these smaller changes, I think is the secret. And I was just imagining all of the work over the last 30 years that we do in preventative kind of healthcare, and I'd maybe back up and not even call this preventative healthcare, it's proactive healthcare. So a takeaway would be that we're doing proactive work here. It's, you have to motivate yourself. And if you can make a smaller change, I think it's easier to motivate yourself to make a small change than it is to make a big change.
Yeah. And I think they also all relate. So like when I finally pull up my shorts and get to the gym and I'm going there often, I find subconsciously I'm eating healthier because I feel great already, and then I'm thinking about it more. I don't know. They seem to like have a relation.
Well, they absolutely do, and it's through endorphins.
Okay.
So these are the feel-good hormones that are released by your body when you exercise. They're also released, when you eat something that tastes really good to you, or drink something that tastes really good, or maybe you see someone that you really like.
Okay.
Like, those endorphins course through your body, and they're feel-good hormones. And when you exercise, those are released. And so you tend not to be searching for that same kind of hit in the food that you're eating.
Interesting.
Which you can artificially obtain. For example, if you're eating some of that stuff that probably isn't so great for you, and that you should probably be looking at eating in moderation rather than in large amounts.
Right.
So you're right. It's totally linked.
Interesting. Very, very cool. What's your favorite bad food to eat?
Oh my God. I love chocolate.
Yeah.
I love it. One of the big things that has such an impact on metabolic syndrome, diabetes, and just feeling good in general, and I don't want to get preachy here at all in this podcast, is limiting alcohol in your life.
Yeah.
And you can think of it a bit as harm reduction.
Yeah.
If you substitute other things in for drinking rather than alcohol.
Yeah.
And one of the things that the craft beer industry has just hopped on the bandwagon with is 0 or near 0% beers.
It is nice.
So near beers or phobies or whatever you want to call them. And they are doing a great job of producing these beers that don't have any alcohol in them.
Yeah.
And it has a big impact on your blood sugar control when you haven't got alcohol in the mix.
Right.
Because when you look at the physiology of blood sugar, it's kind of interesting because your brain preferentially requires sugar as a fuel.
Okay.
And when you think about it, you don't eat anything for several hours when you go to sleep. You go to bed. So how does your brain maintain its source of fuel? And it's your liver that has been building up stores of sugar throughout the day with whatever you're eating that then breaks those sugar stores down overnight in little bits and bathes your brain in that fuel that it needs all night long while you're sleeping. And alcohol has a negative impact on the ability to build up those sugar stores as well as break them down overnight. So that's one of the problems. Again, I mean, there's so many problems. It's a primary carcinogen.
Yeah.
So anything that it comes into contact with on its way through your system is potentially at risk of cancer. So anyway, as I say, I don't want to get on this bandwagon about this business, but you're asking what are some of my things that I do. And one of the things that I've done recently is I've substituted these near beers like you have already taken that step, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And I really, I'm not missing it at all.
Before we go on to the next round of sauna, maybe we could touch on processed food. You know, we were talking about the grocery store and how it's just a zoo in there for what you can eat. And is it kind of the same, along the same lines as alcohol with some of the stuff we're eating, or what?
Well, yeah, for sure. So I think the easiest thing to remember when you go into the grocery store is to stick to the outside of the grocery store and don't go into the middle. Because the middle is where all of the processed foods reside.
Okay.
And so, you know, the health benefits of the fresh foods are not replaceable with processed food. They're really not. Yeah. And so the fiber, all the micronutrients that you get with the outside of the grocery store foodstuffs is really where you need to focus your shopping habits.
Yeah. Plus, this just tastes better anyway. I mean, fresh fruit, fresh vegetables. And if you're from Terrace, we got the farmer's market. You don't have to go to the store.
There you go. This time of year, from May to almost the end of October, you just have to visit the farmer's market.
We love that place.
Yeah, and you know, just I did a little tool around the province over a bit of a summer holiday here.
Okay.
And we would hit the farmers markets, and it's really amazing what Terrace has to offer.
I would agree. I did the same thing.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's really, I don't know if everybody realizes what a gem we have in that farmers market and what the people of this region are supplying for the population here. It's quite incredible. And I think the other side to it is as well, if you're supporting your local farmers through the market or through the community box program, that it's you're improving the overall health of the community at large. Yeah. And that's an important thing, a different way, maybe perspective to bring to it than just your own health. You're looking at the health of the people around you by bringing up, you know, socioeconomic status of everybody. And it's just healthier for the environment to be growing stuff in your own neighborhood than relying on processed foods and all the chemicals that are associated with that production.
And even food traveling. We have an episode coming up, talk with farmers, and we're going to talk about local food and how important that is. Yeah. And yeah, just betters the community. On that note, let's go to our last sauna round.
Okay.
And you're going to do a cold down.
Pressure in the last round.
Last round. Thanks again for coming out, Greg.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. I kind of want to, on the last one, talk about tips and pointers from you on longevity, even though we've kind of been talking about it the whole time. But, you know, if you got any comments that could really hit home on longevity, what should we kind of be striving for if we want to live a long, healthy life?
Yeah, it's
big question.
Yeah, it's such an interesting question. You know, I've had the odd centurion in my practice over the years, and I've asked them, "What's your secret?
Yeah,
you know, what keeps you going?" And it's funny because there's a real spectrum of protoplasm. Okay. Because there's some people that are just healthy specimens, and it doesn't matter how they abuse their bodies, they're going to live 100 years.
Genetics?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's other people who, I'm sure genetics obviously are involved, but who follow an extremely healthy lifestyle. Right. And I would say obviously the majority of people that reach those ripe old ages are likely the people who have not only the genetic predisposition, but also are observing these healthy lifestyles. And really, you know, I know we were talking about the change program at the beginning here, but as applying to metabolic syndrome and diabetes, the reason that we did that is we don't have enough allied health professionals to offer it to everybody. And so we've had to limit the resource in some way.
Right.
And so we offer it to those people who are likely going to have the most difficulties as they move along through their health journey, in hopes that we can reverse a lot of that. But in reality, the best thing to be able to do for the general population is to have everybody partake in this healthy lifestyle.
Right.
And so if this secret sauce can get out there for everybody to utilize, that's actually what we'd be hoping to achieve en masse across the country. And so the idea of the food and physical literacy is wrapped up in more, and we were talking about this a little bit, I think, in our last go round, and that's the idea of community. So people who are attached and engaged in their community tend to live longer.
Very cool.
People who have the ability to get down and tie their shoes, or go up a flight of stairs, or stand on a single leg for 10 seconds, like the one-legged stand test.
Okay.
Those people will tend to survive longer than others. So, and then just, if you're exercising and eating well, chances are you're probably engaged with some kind of social network and you have a purpose. And so all of those things together, again, wrap up in community, I think.
Yeah.
And so for me, those are the secrets that help keep people going.
I've never been big into meditating, but this past winter I got into breath work.
Yeah.
And I find that subconsciously I was probably meditating while I'm doing that, but breathing, and me and my wife are reading a lot about breathing. Is that anything that we could implement or think about? Being conscious about how we breathe.
So I would throw that into the general grab bag of mindfulness.
Yeah.
And so if you are observing some kind of a breathing routine, if you are meditating, if you are exercising, all of these things can have an aspect of mindfulness attached to them.
Yeah.
And so the definition then of mindfulness is living in the present and getting rid of all of the distractions that assail us in our everyday lives, stuff that's happened in the past, all those things that are going to happen in the future that keep us all anxious about everything.
Yeah.
And so having that state of mindfulness with breathing, with meditation, with yoga, with exercise, all of those things I think can qualify as mindful exercise, and they're so important so that you can get rid of all of that distraction and just focus on the moment.
Very cool. All right. Well, thank you for coming on the pod, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your bike season. And hopefully the snow doesn't fly, or does fly soon. But that in-between phase is kind of mucky.
Yeah, it can be tricky.
So let's hope for a maybe quick transition.
Yep.
I don't know, not too soon. I still have a bunch of stuff I got to do.
There's still fall fishing to be done.
Yeah, I got to do a lot of that. Got to do a lot of fall fishing. All right.
Thanks for this.
Yeah. Cheers. And I'm still not really good at wrapping up a podcast. I'll probably get better at the end of this. But this is Sauna Talks with Storm Carroll. Thank you for watching and listening.
All right. I got to get one of those things.
You don't have one of these?
No.
Peace, be still, my
my darling. All is well, my darling. Your anxious heart may as well be stone. We